Greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott here, and this is my Market MRI Pro update for November 10th, 2025. Well, over the weekend, it was pretty clear that we were going to bounce this week. Well, there's no guarantees, but when you have hammer-like, somebody pointed out that didn't meet the true definition of the hammers. Actually, the futures looked even better at that. But when you have hammer-like candles occurring on the 50-day moving average, in a dominant uptrend with a pullback, to me, it was a pretty obvious, clear sign. Question is for how long? So it definitely had bullish momentum off of support. And now the question comes, are new highs on deck? Uh, Lots of things going on. We've got potential ending of the shutdown. I think that drove some of what we saw last night. And you could see when that became questionable early in the day, markets actually pulled back for a while, then they recovered. So, we'll have to see if that plays a part or not. But definitely, we saw some improvement in the U.S. markets as the day went on with increasing breadth. Again, my name is Jeffrey Scott, marketmripro@gmail.com. Google Group's called Top Down Trader. Website's marketmripro.com. Yes, I ramble some, but I do these unscripted. This is just part of my regular nightly evaluation of the markets and determination of what I'm going to do as well. As always, these should be considered for educational purposes only and not investment advice. Any recommendation is in the spirit of education. The intent of the video is to demonstrate the tools, especially my tools of top-down analysis. Trading involves risk. You are solely responsible for any investment decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock mentioned in this report. Trading stocks and options should be considered risky. You should always consult with your financial advisor before making trades. And I have tools for multiple platforms. I'm an independent trader and been playing a lot with that new MetaStock add-on, and hopefully that will make a nice splash. A lot of marketing goes with that, so I'm very excited. My Google group is called Top Down Trader. How do you join it? You go to Google Groups, search for all groups. You click on Top Down Trader. Let us know how you want to be contacted. Love to have you join. Know your news and earnings. It's been what we're not going to get. Tuesday, we're going to get an NFIB optimism index. We got Michael Barr speaking, but it's also a Veterans Day holiday. And with the bond market closed, maybe that'll make it an easier day for stocks and perhaps contribute to a nice little rally here. On Wednesday, we got a ton of Philadelphia Fed speakers. And then Thursday, it's what we don't get is a jobless claims in the CPI. Now, it'd be interesting to see if they get back together, Congress, and they pass the continuing resolution. We'll start to see some data come out. And I think that's probably going to happen. If we look at earnings, I've got one of mine is C in the morning, Nebius. A lot of people are in that I'm friends with as well. Oklo in the afternoon, boy, has that been a volatile mover, one that we played, but not long enough apparently. And then you could see the rest of the week, we got a lot of earnings. I think NVIDIA must be next week. It's a judgment call to hold stocks over earnings dates. It's bad judgment to not know when your stock's earnings date is scheduled. One positive thing you could say is for the most part, a lot of these earnings are out of the way, which takes that risk away from the market and could be bullish as well. You can see here that we had a strong day on the leaders index, so I was about to write it off as it traded below the 17, but leaders lead, and this one's still leading, and you can see over here of the 20 or so stocks, we had one that was down. That's a pretty strong day in the market. For more information about anything I ramble about, just reach out to me, marketmripro@gmail.com. I will return it personally. For Market MRI Pro customer support, it's coding at marketmripro.com. And consider joining Top Down Trader Group. Again, our website's marketmripro.com. It's sort of in progress, but we're continuing to add more stuff on a regular basis. If you've not watched my channel before, you haven't subscribed, it's free. Why don't you? Just hit subscribe, hit the alarm so you know when I do this. Better yet, subscribe and join Top Down Trader because I send out an email with a link whenever I post them. All right. It's interesting. I took a picture this morning and I was going to post something and I'm glad I didn't. And what I was going to post was how the markets had popped, but then I looked at it around 10:30, 11 o'clock, and everything was trading at about the 10% of their daily range on the major indices. And you could see they finished well off of that level. And then the breadth started improving, and the markets, you could see what happened. Bitcoin was up 2.22%. Qs were up 2.2, Spider up 1.58, Russell was up 1, Diamonds 0.84, dollar 0.07, and volatility was down significantly. And again, most of the bullish things and not the bearish thing, the VIX, closed at the significantly higher part of their daily range. If we look at new highs minus new lows, that was quick. Look how the new lows went away. They were triple digits yesterday at 52 weeks or 12 months, and now we're positive again. Now, middle of the day, you had about 30% of the S&P 1500 up. We ended up at 60. Same with the NASDAQ at 61 and NYSE at 62. Massive improvement in breadth as the day went on. Early in the day, you only had tech, discretionary, and communications that were positive. As we ended up, the only things that were negative were the defensive plays of staples, real estate, and utilities. A very bullish day. And if you look at what led, you got TAN, gold miners, silver, China, semiconductors, artificial intelligence, clean tech, copper. Maybe Friday, or excuse me, last week, the pullback that we had that ended Friday in the middle of the day, maybe that was rotation and maybe we're rotating back. Still have concerns that we'll mention as we go, but you can't argue with a strong day, and we had a strong day. When I look at the timing model, it's going to take a while for this to heal. So on the daily, spiders, Qs, and diamonds, we pop back above the WMA. But the bongo doesn't reverse right away. So we're still technically in a sell signal until both conditions are met. Close above the bongo, excuse me, above the WMA, and a bongo going blue or green, depending on platform. We traded up but closed below the WMA on the Russell. So all the daily charts are still in a sell signal, but they're all looking better than they did um, on Thursday after hours. If we look at the weekly charts, you could see we remain in a buy across the board. So by definition, weekly buys, daily sells is a pullback in an uptrend. And you could see the strength of the uptrends and the modest, and I think modest is the right word on the pullbacks. If we look at the index ETFs, let's take a look at the spider. Significant difference today. Here was the hammer-ish pattern on the 50. Here's touching the 50 in the past. Massive bounce up 1.5% today. I didn't look at the volume. I like to look at volume on Market Surge, mostly because that's what I always look at volume on. And it's not to say that other platforms don't have good volume, but I see the volume was a little bit low in the markets today. Now, is that a big deal? Not really, but the fact that it was low makes anything positive a little bit less positive. So, love what I see on the diamonds. Do I think it's going to go to new highs? Yeah, it broke out of a flag, and my guess is it's going to come back and threaten new highs. No guarantees, just a guess or a belief. If we look at the Qs, we're going to see a similar pattern. 50, 50, almost the 50, almost the 50, massive move up, and we're in strong seasonality. Why won't it go up and threaten old highs? It could do whatever it wants. But if I was a betting person, I would bet it's going to threaten old highs. Diamonds, same thing, pulled back to the 50 and broke out, and the market was up 0.84% today. So there's a lot of positive things that we can see in this market right now. The Russell, I don't really want to call it a laggard, even though it's the one that's below the WMA. They've all had a nice recovery off the bottom, but look how it retook the 50 today, retested and closed significantly above it. So it's funny how things turn so fast, and I'm feeling pretty good about these markets right now. We'll see how long that lasts. There's still risk here. And notice a significantly down day, down 7.76 on the VIX futures, which is great if you want to be long this market. And I took some more long positions today. Kind of glad I took that TQQQ on Friday that I mentioned over the weekend. Dollar, market stronger, dollar up a bit. A bit is true, 0.07%. Not too much of a signal there. If we look at commodities, probably a time to be looking seriously at gold and silver here. I entered a little bit of that today. Looks like it's pulled out. It broke out above the 17. And, is your target going to be back up here? Another 30-point move, 25-point move on GLD? I think so. So I think gold looks interesting here. Um, Gold was up with that gap, up 2.73%. And I think gold will go the way the market goes. If this market trades up, gold and silver will follow. Big gap up on silver, 4.26%. Same story. Now it was less risk down here, but I kind of think we just broke out again. And I think gold and silver look interesting. Oil, meandering around that 25 and the 50. Let's make it smaller. Not really doing much. And look at how natural gas has had a little bit of a run up, which I'm playing with EXE, I think is the symbol, the old Chesapeake. And then if we look at rates, which we're always watching closely, you could see 10-year was up 0.47, the 30-year was up 0.02. And notice they opened up and traded down. So it's actually, for the longs, that's actually a good sign. So rather than opening up and trading higher all day, they opened up higher and they came back down. So I think looking at this, the thesis is we're going higher. And I added to my TQQQ. I rolled a couple things up and out that I thought I might take profits on. And I opened up another position in the solar space. If we look at the buckets, you'll see we've come off of the more bearish approach, and now we've only got 9% below, 8% below, 10% below on the NASDAQ, and 17 on the Russell, all of which massively improved. And we're moving more to a neutral stance. Still probably more stocks below the midline of the Bollinger Bands than not, but definitely improved today. That's good to see. Market brief, if we look at the NYSE on the left, the NASDAQ on the right, you can see the beautiful move on the NYSE, the reversal on Friday, and the breakout above the 50 on the NYSE composite today. You can see a nice gap up on the NASDAQ. Both look great. Stocks above the various moving averages did not get to a area of extension, but both turned up. You can see new high, new lows, AD lines, and up-down volume are all green today. And for once, we didn't see another Hindenburg Omen, which is a good thing. So that's what I see looking at the market breadth. And on my other market breadth tool, I'll just comment on what I really liked was everything's turning up. AD lines across the board, RSIs across the board, stocks at the 13-week new high, new lows have all turned up and are neutral in the 50s or low 60s and not giving a signal. So I think the market has healed up pretty quickly. I'm not Pollyannish. I know things will go back down eventually. I think the whole issue of the government opening is bullish, and then what we're going to learn about is the data story, and we'll see if that makes us more concerned about the economy or more concerned about inflation. And I don't know what the answer is. I think there's reason for doubt there. If we look at the ratio charts, we saw today was a resumption of the technology trade. You could see that communications didn't look as good as tech did. Energy still holding up okay. Staples came down some, discretionary kind of neutral. Healthcare eased a bit as we rotated out of the defensive type of a play. Materials were positive. Bitcoin was up a little bit, and here's your energy. Here's your financials. The big winner is clearly technology. If we go to the JAS layout, and these are the stocks in the what we call I call the Praveen Dex this time. Let's go back to the Impulse, and we got 3,290 stocks. 30, really? So that's actually interesting. That's down quite a bit. I'll have to ask Praveen why the stock count dropped. But we're seeing 3290 today. That meant 3290 that passed our filter for earnings and price. If we go into top down, we can look at the top three sectors today, which we know are going to be tech. There's that materials and energy. Isn't that interesting on the broader markets? Remember, communications didn't look so hot when we looked at the ratio chart. And then if we look at the top 10 industry groups here, media, silver, other precious metals, gold, solar. All right. And these 209 stocks are the ones that are the leaders. Let's just go real quickly, hit pullbacks and uptrend, and let's look for $5 and 500,000 minimums. Let's hit OK. Not that many. Let's rank them by up-down impulses. Let's see if anything looks good. Baidu, back moving again. Boy, Baidu was great. I bought it down here, ran it up, took some profits. Um, didn't get out at the top, but pretty close. Baidu looks interesting. Look what we got here. Volume breakout, momentum breakout, volume in a gap. Relative strength at OBV looked good. Seasonality looks good. Let's take a look out here. Earnings are out in about a week, so that would be the only concern. A week from Tuesday, earnings are coming. Was there news on it today? The cheapest AI leader in the world, meet Baidu. Well, that's a pretty strong comment if you like AI. And if you want to read it, you just have to click on the Zacks link there. It'll open it up in your favorite browser. I'll read it later. Array, ARRY, this is a solar company. Solar's hot right now. SGML, lithium, Solar Edge. This one looked interesting this weekend, and what a nice breakout today. Earnings are out, and even though it's growing, it's still losing money, but it had positive surprise on earnings and a little bit of a surprise on revenue. Here's a gold miner, SBSW. That looks actionable down here. Medbay Minerals, another miner breaking out from a flag. Google is one of the ones I thought looked interesting last night. Still looks interesting. Um, I think it's actionable right here. It's certainly not getting, well, it's getting extended. I don't know. I think it looks interesting there. Snap, not my favorite stock historically, still in a downtrend. IAC, no. HL, Hecla Mining, this one's already broken out. For solar, one that I like. Flag, and it moved up today. We'll see where it ends up going. And you can look at several others down here. Coherent was one that I was looking at as well. So a lot of nice looking stocks. Looking at the top three sectors, their top 10 industries included from the three, and taking a look at the stocks. Now let's kill what's in the filter, and let's go to the impulse list. So far, I think Baidu and maybe that gold stock, SB, whatever it went to, would be interesting. Now here I'm just going to look in the essence of time two scans, the A plus scan, double momentum, price volume, and turning up of the relative strength in spider. Interestingly, didn't see one. Surprising. How about the A stocks? ARRY. BIDU, that's my stock of the night. And then Snapchat, which I'm less intrigued about. Now, I'm surprised that we're not seeing anything on the Momos. Let's just see Momos by themselves. The only one we got is SMXT. Solar Max, no surprise it's a solar, but it's a very cheap stock. So there you go. Let's just look at my weekend review list and see. All right, there might be something with the list because we're seeing a number more on the my combo buys list, which are the weekend review, which should all be in the other list. Let's look at these very quickly. Albemarle, um, breaking out. This is a lithium play. If lithium's strong, this is a world-class miner. Ambac Financial, a regional bank, breaking above the 50. CVE, energy, Covetus, beautiful uptrend, pull back to the 50, breaking out. Earnings are out. Big surprise again on earnings. Doximity, or no, Amdocs below the 200. Globant, gosh, I looked at this yesterday. I just hard to get enthusiastic about something that's so far off their prior highs. GTLS, Chart Industries, looks like a takeout. LHX, a military supplier. Um, earnings are out. Let's just look here. So you pull back and trying to break out. Madison Square Garden, nice breakout. Northrop Grumman, so something's going on with defense. Not right yet. Is this? Oh no, this is Northern Oil and Gas. Never mind. ECRX, Ralph Lauren, RL. Nice uptrend, pull back and a breakout. I like the pattern. And earnings were out with a nice beat and surprise on revenue. PRP, Trepanion, I believe. Nope. This is TC Energy. Natural gas infrastructure. Natural gas is doing well. And Tyson Chicken. Then if we look at, those are the 2-day momentum up scan. And if we clear that and we run the A scan, we've looked at those. AstraZeneca, breaking out. We already like that. We already looked at that. Corning. You know, GLW, John Person talked about it as his live meeting, and it makes fiber optics, and it's probably an important part of building out data centers. And I think that's going to do it. So I haven't changed my mind. I think my favorite chart tonight, although this looks pretty good, Trevi Therapeutics, I'd have to do a little research. I'm going to stick with Baidu. I'll be looking at that and maybe taking a trade in the morning. Again, everything depends upon the markets. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.